thousands in, or we're only going to get 20 people in. We don't know. But from past experience, Bank Holiday Mondays and a Good Friday are very good dates to fill fixtures where hopefully we will get good crowds on them holidays. Next question. And does anything you disagree with, or anybody, or say, well, that's a load of cobblers? Put your hand up and tell me.
I've been told to ask you on this side.
Oh, go on then. Well, that's it. Hang on a sec. Can you all switch your phones off, please? Because that's... Yeah, it's a long time since people have had to stand to listen to me. It's that full. Right, you had a question in relation to Bank Holiday Mondays, yeah?
Okay, I think I know what the answer's going to be, but what is it related to science committee into the season?
Well, that's the next question. I'll kill two birds with one stone. When did I find out about Jack Smith not riding for us, and how did this affect team selection? That's pretty well covers your question. Right, the position with Jack Smith is this. Before the end of the season, I spoke to Andy, his dad, and said, Andy, I'd really like to have Jack in the team for next year. He said, Graham said, it won't be a problem. He said, the lad loves it here. He said, this is as professionally run club as anyone that I've ever been in. And Andy's been in a few. He said, it really will not be a problem. So I left it at that. And then, I think I'm right in saying before Christmas, when things were starting to put into place, when I knew what the points limit was, I rang Andy Smith up, and I can actually virtually remember word for what he said. I tried to ring Andy 3 or 4 times, and he's not the easiest of blokes to get hold of because he's in Poland and goodness knows where from his business. And I rang him up, finally got hold of him, and he said, oh, Graham, said, I'm glad you're wrong. He said, I'm just going to ring you. I thought, yeah, go on then. He said, I was going to ring you this afternoon, and I've got to ring Craig a bit later on tonight. Jack won't be riding for Birmingham. We've been offered a deal we can't refuse. I said, I am. All the best to you, mate. Not a problem. You take that deal. And that was it. And I'm pretty certain that was between the AGM and Christmas. So that was the question of that. I would have dearly liked Jack Smith in the team. But as I said, to quote his dad, they've been given or been offered a deal they couldn't refuse. To which I was bitterly disappointed with. And I think everybody in the rooms is assuming he's got a Bellevue. I never asked who the team was, but there's only Bellevue in the National League he didn't go to. So as bitterly disappointed as I was, if, and I've got to emphasise this is a big if, we all know he signed for Glasgow. We're assuming he signed for Bellevue. If he signs for Bellevue in the, I'm going to call it a league and Premier League because I can't get my head around these new things. So we know he signed for Glasgow in the Premier League. If he'd have signed for Bellevue in the Elite League and then said to me, well, I'm fixed up in the Premier League and the Elite League, I want to ride for Birmingham in the National League, I think I'd have said no, because that's 110 meetings. And you, the paying public, deserve to see a team that will represent Birmingham as much as humanly possible. So to answer your question with Jack Smith, I wanted him. His dad said he would ride for Birmingham. They were offered a deal to quote them. They couldn't refuse. I'm not in the game of, in this league, you say that's what we can afford to pay you. He goes, I had a super message off Jack not 2 weeks ago, just saying, no, it's on my iPad, I could have actually read it out. Words to the effect of, Graham, I'd really like to ride for Birmingham, and I'm sorry I'm not with you, and I wish you all, every success for the coming season. That cover that point for you, everybody? Right, next one. As I say, don't write it down, you can write it down, put your hand up. Right away.
Has there ever been any official sort of decision made after what happened in the shambles at Eastbourne in the cup final? Because although we were laughing because we won the league, so it didn't bother us.
Yes, it did.
Even some of their fans came up after, they were thoroughly embarrassed. There was a couple from Kent boys who'd come to see James Shane's riding his last match of the season. They couldn't believe it when he said what had happened.
No,
no official.
Right, well, I'll tell you, Is he anything official? There's a referee here tonight, so I've got to be careful what I say. But he's one of the referees I can trust, so I can call him the biggest so-and-so's under the sun, and I know it won't go within these four walls. When the new year came in, one of the first people I rang was Tony Steele. And I said, and I texted, I said, Steve, I said, could you let me know if the referee in question is on the retained list for the forthcoming season? And he said, we don't know yet, but I would be surprised if he is. And left it at that. And then, not for Steely, I texted him again, and I texted him about 3 weeks ago. I said, I want to be careful with the words I use here. See, is the so-and-so on the referee's list for the coming season? And it was words to the effect of, I think he is, but bear in mind we're short of referees. So to answer your question, absolutely nothing in any way, shape or form. And one of the referees, the referee in question now, isn't this one working?
Stopped working, so
Is that better? Okay. So the referee just said, I know your first referee is for the season, and he said who it was, but he will not be welcome to Birmingham. I cannot stop him from coming to Birmingham. And if I made from a past experience, if you complain to the SCB about a referee, you're getting more than what you would normally do. So the answer is absolutely nothing at all will be done, which is ridiculous, criminal. Go on.
The problem there is that the referee did what was right. The problem is that no other referee had exercised that law for the rest of the season.
I think we'll have to agree to disagree with that one. The position is this, I don't know whether you're aware of this, but 7 days before a meeting takes place, every promoter in the country logs onto the official SCB website, which isn't open to the public. You have a code to get into this particular website, and then you log it. So as the away team can see what your team is, the referee can see what your team is, and it's logged. There it is. Then the referee or the away promoter, or if Birmingham's riding, I log our team and the away team logs their team. You can look at it, and you've got 7 days to raise an objection to that team. I spoke to Eastbourne, they were fine. Spoke to the guy who organises the referee, said, this is the situation. He said, yeah, okay, it's against the rules, but because of the circumstances, he didn't have a problem with it. I rolled up there, the referee, come, fine, no, he said, I said, have you seen the programme? Yeah, no problem. He said, I'm quite happy with it. And if there's anybody who's at that meeting, I think most people will confirm that, because I did say to them on the night, you know, it's fine, all systems go, not a problem. Then with 20 minutes before the start, he comes to me, he said, oh Graham, he said, I've got a problem. I said, oh, what's that? He said, a fan's just come to me and said, he can't ride. I said, well, you know, you can tell that fan, don't you? I said, because if you cock this meeting up, you're an embarrassment to the sport and to you by not following the rules and regulations. He then said, oh dear. I said, well, it's your problem. So then, apparently, although I don't know this, he tried to get hold of Peter Morris, who's a coordinator, couldn't get hold of him. I think he rang somebody else and he couldn't get in touch with them. But so I'm not telling you, from what I just said, is that correct?
Yes.
That is the system. And the referee should have picked up on it, said, hi Graham, that rider rode you within 7 days, he's not eligible, he can't ride. 7 days. That is the only reason that rule was brought in, so as you log your team, you can look at your team, and which, rest assured, when I'm riding anywhere, home and away, when them teams are logged, I check it to see if it meets the rules and regulations. So that's the way that it is. Okay? Next one.
In terms of the spirit of what happened last season, I mean, I don't think the law had been precedent set during the season.
Correct.
So why didn't the referee just say, technically supporter, I know you manage Eastbourne, but don't worry about that. Technically supporter,
No,
you are right.
if I could, I genuinely believe it was not the Eastbourne promotion. I do believe that. I might be wrong, But I don't think, I mean, when I was riding, a red rag to a bull was me and a doogad. And I'll tell you what, if somebody had said to me 30 years ago, Graham, when it's your birthday, you'll have a text off a doogad wishing you happy birthday. Last week I had one off called a doogad. Couldn't believe it. A doogad sent it. So as I say, I do believe it was just a fan who goes on these bloody forums, picked up on it and said, oh, I'll wait until 10 minutes before the start and say it to the referee. But I can't emphasise enough, 20 minutes before the rider in question was even in the pitch warming his bloody bike up. Yeah. So sorry, did I interrupt?
No, what I was going to say was really, cynicism apart, surely the referee could have just said, look, technically you're right, but as the president has set this season, and we go with the teams that have been declared.
Correct.
So it was weak refereeing all round, all those, wasn't it?
But besides that, he is a dick of a referee. No, I mean, you know, putting that to one side, you know, you do have when the referee allocation comes out, and you look who you got, and you think, oh, Steely or Jim Lawrence it was, or the old lad that's sitting here, yeah, that do, you know, because last year, when we have a riders' meeting, which I always do, and I run through things, and particularly with these kids, and I always say to them, during the course of a season, you're going to be aggrieved by referee's decision. I am not going to go on the phone to the referee. I said, because I've been in the game 40 odd years, and I've never, ever, ever known a referee change his mind. So I never even get on the phone with them, I don't argue with them. You have to take and I try to say to the riders that, you know, it evens itself out. And I'll tell you a tale when, I've mellowed a lot the last couple of years, I really have. But I remember one particular, when we were in the Elite League, and one rider, rightly so, had a rider running to side of him, a Birmingham rider fell off, and he said, bloody blah, blah. I said, get on the referee. I said, you're okay. And there's an advert on the telly about it similar now, but I went on the phone and I said, this rider here thinks I'm shouting at you, but you did the right decision there, don't worry about it, but I'm doing my job, you do everything, slam the phone down. Because, as I said, you never change your mind, have you? You should be sitting next to me. So, you're right, but, you know, he's just, he's not very good at his job, and I believe that if he wasn't short of referees, he wouldn't be in the job now.
But I think also the e-sport management could have been strong. We couldn't round and said, look, you know, the referee talked to them, look, your manager, your owners, let's go with it.
No, that wouldn't have, again, in the old days, why this rule was brought in, when I was riding, something similar did arise like that. And you know what they did? Ian Thomas did it. I was riding, Ian Thomas said, okay. The away team objected to, the home team objected to the away team, the rider wasn't eligible for whatever reason. They said, okay then, no problem. It's not a league match, we'll run the meeting, but we'll run it as a challenge. And we run it as a challenge. We couldn't do that at Eastbourne, because it was the last meeting of the season, and that was it. Yep.
Was there no facility for running the match under protest, whereby Shainesy could have ridden and then an SCB review of the situation after the event?
You know what? They may be, but do you think that's good enough for the sport? I think the referee should have been just made as what he was, and I think the referee, and again, you know, I'm learning all the time. What's your views on that? If I'd have said to the referee, we're riding under protest, we want him to ride, and if you're proven to be wrong, if you're proven to be right, we'll deduct his points.
The problem you got was you were facing a statement of fact, weren't you? Because it was a breach of the regulations, it just had not been picked up in sufficient time. So if a protest had been placed, if they got to the SCB board, the ruling would have lost anyway.
And it cost you £500 to appeal. I don't think Tony Moore would have been too impressed. Yeah, but let's not, let it not cloud what happened at Birmingham Speedway last year. We were the best team by a country mile. Please, as fans in this room, don't expect another season like that. for at least another 10 or 15 years. It was a unique set of circumstances where everybody gelled together, whereby Tony Moore employed me to do a job, and I thought, I think I know the job half decently. But if Tony Moore had said to me, well, actually, Graham, that is a good team, but four meetings into the season, Jack Smith and JPB will have still been at reserve, and I said, don't be silly, Tony. I never thought they would stop at reserve all season. If somebody had said to me, Daniel Young will average 7 and a bit, and I said, he can't stop on the bloody bike. I've seen him twice at Brummies Fans. He falls off more than what he stops on. So, the point being, I don't want the Eastbourne situation to cloud what happened. Fantastic set of circumstances. Each and every one of the lads deserve the success that they got, and you as a club did. But, as I say, don't expect it every season. That was a one-off.
You said that the year before last.
Yeah.
Don't expect it again, and what happened?
Yeah, true enough. Right, I've got a few things here, so you can all put your minds into gear. I've got a few things that you may find of interest. Press and practice day. I got all the details. I don't know if any of you want to put pen and paper, but it will be on web pages and Twitter and all that load of nonsense. But I'm sure you all know the date of the press and practice day, which is March the 15th. And this is the timings of it. And a lot of thought has gone into this, and I'll tell you the reason why we've done certain things. Is it on the 15th of March? The riders, I've told the riders to be in the pits for 11 o'clock on that morning, not the general public as of yet. Then at 12 o'clock, the riders will be there in their Kevlars. An official invitation will go out to the press, media for photographs, interviews, so on and so forth. Then at 1 o'clock, please remember, at 1 o'clock, the gates are open to the public. We'll have somebody going around with a bucket collection, just put in what you think, and that money will go into like a riders fund that we're going to try and arrange. And then, so the riders will be allowed, the public will be allowed in, but not in the pits, health and safety and all that sort of stuff. However, during the course of the day, there will be an interval of, we've got down here 15 minutes, it might be a little bit longer than that, where you, the public, can come in the pits. You can come in, you can talk to riders, you can have your photograph taken with the riders, you can sit on the bike, you can whatever, but it's your time in the pits with the riders. Then from 1:30 to 3 o'clock, the riders will be on the track, so the interval will be between them two times where you can come in and do your photographs if you want to. The reason why that has happened, we did this last year, but the year before, some of the press lads were saying, well, we're trying to take photographs, and there's other fans there trying to take their photographs, it makes life a little bit easier. And we've got to, I'm sure you understand, we've got to try and accommodate the press as much as we can to get as much publicity as what we can and to look after them. And then at 3 o'clock it's over with. There'll be a meeting with the riders. I take them all up in the hospitality box and just run through the rules and regulations with them. And then we take them out for the day. I did ask some of the riders where would they like to go in Birmingham, and some of the places their mum and dads wouldn't have been happy with. Or Denise would have been very happy, come to think of it either. But we will be taking them. It's this bonding thing. I do. The last 2 weeks, the lads have gelled together really, really well, and that's something that I'm quite sure has brought success to the club, and it's something that both Tony and I are very keen on. Then at 6:45, in the stadium, in the bar, there will be a staff meeting and health and safety meeting with Denise, where you have your press passes, your staff passes, and Denise will run through the health and safety issues and everything for the coming season. Then at 7:15, the doors will be open where we'll have a forum where you won't listen to me rabbiting on, but you'll have the 7 riders there that will be interviewed by Ryan Guest, and you as the fans can ask them questions as well. And as I say, that's worked very well. So that's from doors open at 7:15. for a 7:30 start until 9 o'clock, and then following Wednesday, it's all systems go again. So that,
Having said that, we're still that same arrangement with one stop?
yes, yeah, in regard to during the
During
court, yeah, we haven't notified them that, you know, with that, and I've got to say the one stop have been very, very helpful to us in regard to car parking and everything, so that arrangement is in place. So that's the details on press and practice day, but it will be on websites and Twitters and all the rest of it. Right, next question.
Second part of the question, I think, from over there was about Jack Smith.
Yep.
And once you learned the news, obviously, going elsewhere, how did that impact on you?
Oh yeah, actually, that's the point that you. I think that was brought up in how did it affect team selection? Well, it did, obviously.
Yeah.
If you got a rider that you want, and then the rider says he's had a deal he can't refuse. And I don't say that in a derogatory way. You know, I mean, you know, we've had it on the best of terms. After I took my hands from round his neck. Yes, it did. It did alter the team plans, but you know that's why I'm in the position that I'm in. I have to, you know, then reevaluate the situation and feel that, you know, look at a team and the replacements that's out there that I think, you know, can do as good a job. Or, it's, again, I think everybody in this room knows it would be very difficult to get somebody, you know, another Jack Smith who's going to improve, hopefully, like Jack does, because he's young, he's English, we all want him to do well, apart from when he's riding against us. So, it did alter the plans, but over the years I've put a lot of teams together, and once you know the points from them, you start drawing what the team that you would like, and you never finish with what you want to start with, apart from last year. The team I wanted was a team that I got, but that's, you know, as I say, that was a unique set of circumstances. Yes, sir, at the back.
Just a question, really to you, or to Tony, in fact, about the side of the club, or the potential side of the club. I just wonder if anything could happen on that front. And if it does, at some stage, get sold, would you be willing to act for particularly the new owners?
Right, I don't get too involved with that side of things. Tony Moore does, but when Tony Moore said that the club is up for sale, you know, really, his timing could have been better. When we're in the League Cup or the League Championship playoffs, and everybody's full of it, and he said, "I want to make them round." I said, "You really think tonight's the night, Tony?" But anyway, as I say, is this Birmingham Speedway is up for sale. To be fair, as I suppose any track in the country is. So it's up for sale. So far as I'm aware, there may have been interest, there may have hadn't been interest. I don't know, because if there has been interest, they certainly wouldn't ring me. They'd ring Tony Moore as the club owner. What I would say, and I say this genuinely, that if anybody was interested in getting involved in Speedway promotion, or was or is an existing promoter, had experience in promotion, Birmingham could not be, you could not get involved in a better track than Birmingham. Because let's look at it, you've got Birmingham, who's on a financial good footing. I'm not saying we're earning a fortune, I'm not saying we're losing a fortune, but it's stable. The foundations of the club is there. I said on record more than once that the working relationship the Speedway have with the GRA is second to none. They are brilliant. So we've got one of the best stadiums in the country. We've got a solid foundation. We don't waste money. We're not tight. Well, we are a little bit. But we don't throw money away. And the potential of the club is endless, in my opinion. I think the timing of Tony selling it is the right time. And I'm sure Tony wouldn't. Tony's been involved with the sport a long time. He's very fortunate that he's in good health. But I think maybe now is the time to sell the club on to somebody. To answer your questions, would I be help somebody run the club? October the 31st. That's it. Denise and I have always said, when Tony Moore retires, we retire. We've had our bloody fingers burnt with two other parties that's been involved at Birmingham Speedway. we showed a lot of loyalty to Tony. Tony showed a lot of loyalty to us. Having said that, a lot will depend. A lot what I'm saying now is very hypothetical. But if, during the course of this season, an experienced promoter comes in, or who has had experience previously in running Speedway, and come in, did a deal with Tony, and said, Tony, I want to run it, I don't want Graham's Early involved, you brush cleans, absolutely not a problem. Tony'd have to pay me out my contract, but that's another story. So that is that. If during the course of the season somebody came in who is either completely inexperienced or relatively inexperienced, if required, we would be more than happy to carry on until October, showing the person or persons involved in the club how to run it, this happens, that happens, and because running a Speedway club is like no other business at all. So whatever, if you're inexperienced of running it, even if you're very, very successful at your chosen career, it doesn't mean necessarily, you know, you can run a Speedway club. So, you know, we would continue to work for the person, showing him the ropes, and when we step back, he's got a, he or a she, you know, that's not being sexist, or a lady come in, you know, we would be more than happy to help them up until the end of the season. Because don't forget, you know, we as a family, we have put 13 years of our life into Birmingham Speedway. And by and large, I think everybody would agree, over them 13 years, it's been a success. So as I said, I hope that answers the question. We will finish the 31st of October. If somebody comes in and buys it before then if required, we'll show them the ropes, show them how to run, take them under my wing and Denise's wing, if you like, to show them everything that works. The benefit of that would also be, I don't know whether this is the way the BSPA bloody works, but if you're new to Speedway, you have to have an experienced promoter to run you through everything. But if somebody come in during the course of the season and bought Birmingham Speedway and come on, they could be a licensed promoter, because you can have 3. So me, the new person, Tony Moore could be the licensed promoters. At the end of the current season, the BSPA might say, well, you know, you've done your apprentice, so to speak. You know, you're free to go. You don't need to have anybody under your wing. Is that answered? I thought you'll be standing up and cheering. Next question.
Can I just ask about the Bellevue Coventry thing?
Yeah.
How's that going to work?
I haven't got a clue. I don't know.
1 team, 2 teams, 2
Don't-
hours of the team?
The only thing I know is that the Bellevue in the Elite League have got their fixtures. They've got all their away fixtures, and when they're up and running, I'm assuming they'll get their home fixture organised in the National League.
So,
Well, they must be running in the National League because they're in the fixtures.
Bellevue Coventry, isn't it?
Oh yes, oh I.
So, I don't understand how that's going to work.
When the Bellevue Coventry thing came about at the AGM, I think both the Coventry promotion and the Bellevue promotion did think they'd both be running at their respective tracks, and they both thought, well, we can't take a full commitment on, so we'll share it. I would assume, and I know no more about the situation than anybody in this room, but one would assume, because of now Coventry is sharing at Leicester, I would assume all the fixtures, home fixtures, will take place at Bellevue. Because, you know, if you've got Leicester running at Leicester, Coventry running at Leicester, I really can't see them having the dates to run National League, so I would assume they'll all be run at Bellevue. Right.
As Coventry or as Bellevue, I don't understand that.
I don't know. No. I think it'd have to be Bellevue, wouldn't it, if all the matches are run at Bellevue. I think even British Speedway wouldn't be that dumb to... But I've got a question anyway. I want a straw poll. Is when I asked for you to put your hands up, give us some consideration, because I'll be interested in this, is that of the 4 riders that rode for us last year and they're riding for us this year is, I want you to put your hands up, and the 4 riders in question is Daniel Hume, in no particular order, Tom Bacon, Daz, who's the other one? JPB. Right. In regard to them 4 riders, individual go round, who do you think will finish this season wearing the number 1 race jacket? Of them 4 riders, the people that think that Daniel Hume will finish this season as a number 1, put your hands up, please. Tom Bacon. It's exciting. Daz. JPB. Oh, right, well, don't worry. No, don't need to count them. But isn't it good that we've got 4 riders that, you know, really, any of them could finish at number 1? Yes, sir.
Who do you see as the captain out of those 4?
Well, I'm going to announce that tonight. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I thought I've got to think of an angle to get everybody here. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll announce who the captain is. I'm not going to ask you to vote on that one in case I got it wrong. Right, let me tell you what I thought, why, and what I've done. What I've done is, being a captain isn't just a matter of turning up, tossing a coin, that's it, on you go. The captain has to be somebody that shows an example, who's, when he rolls up, his equipment is good, so as the newcomers that are in the team can look back and think, wow, look at that setup. I want somebody that I can get on with. I don't want a yes man. I want somebody that, if it isn't right, he'll bloody tell me, on certain terms, and we'll have a right ding dong. But once we've had the argument and he decides and he knows I'm right, then, you know, it went over some of your heads then, didn't it? No, seriously, we want somebody that we can have a discussion with and he can put his points across and so on and so forth. And I want somebody that, in the past, I've made riders captain, and actually it hasn't been a good move, because although they may have been a good captain, it's affected their form. And I didn't want that to happen. Conversely, I appointed people that are captains, and I thought, wow, that's done him good, that's brought him on, he's doing better. The added responsibility, he feels that when he's going out, he's got to do that a little bit better, show an example. And all them attributes that I just mentioned, to be fair, the 4 of them does meet that criteria. And the reason why I chose the person that I did, I thought you were on tender looks, the reason why I chose the person that I had was, you know, as I say, bear in mind all 4 of them does meet that criteria. The person that's got the job is because he, I know, will not be missing any rides or meetings because of doubling up. Daz Richards is going to be the captain. Now with Daz, he's always the first one to roll up at a meeting. He gets his bike in the pits and you stand back and you think, that's a good setup, that is. And like I say, the other 3 could have fitted that bill, but like I say, he won't miss any meetings because of the doubling up. At the minute, a Premier League club could have an injury first meeting of the season and Daz could be called up and he could be riding in the Premier League. But the other riding factor is, I believe, and I'm here in front of all you, and I could be shot down at the end of the season, I think by making him captain, we'll bring him on. I think the responsibility of being the captain, your arm must be aching, love. You will be next, I promise. You can put your hand down, see it aching, but I will come back to you. Is I do believe that with Daz being the captain, will bring him on. He will be a better rider for it. And let's not forget, 3 months into the season this year, he was actually pushing Zach for the number 1 position. He has got the ability, he's certainly got the equipment, but like I say, with the responsibility of being the captain, we'll bring him on as a rider, and that at the end of the day is what we all want. So Daz is going to be our captain for the coming season. The other thing, when I rung him, what I first did, I rung his dad up. I said, "Oh, how you doing, Grimsby?" He said, "Oh, hi, Grimsby." He said, "Hang on a minute, I'll put Daz on." I said, "No, I don't want to talk to him." I said, "I want to talk to you." And I said, "When we're talking, just say yes, no, yes, no." I said, "But what's your views on Daz being the captain for this year?" He said, that would just, inflate him so much to do that. I said, "Okay then." I left a couple of days, I rung him, and I said, "Oh, Daz," I said, "it's a little bit of a change in the team." "What do you mean?" He said, "I spent a lot of money on my bikes, Graham." I said, "Well, the thing is," I said, "I've had Buxton on." He said, "You what?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You want a fixture change, but do you want to be the captain?" And I tell you what, you'd have thought that I was offering the moon. So, as you say, that is the reason. All 4 of them, with JPB, I think it would have been too soon for him. He's only a young kid. Hughie is very, very inexperienced. And Tom Bacon puts himself in his what we call his race mode. And he just focused in, not wrong with it, but he just focuses in on himself. By the time he twists all his wrists, Christ knows what he does, but he has all his trouble, wrists and what have you. So I didn't, there was certain issues with that. But I'll sink or swim by my decision, and I think it's the right decision to have Daz as a captain for the coming season. Yes, madam, you had your hand up.
Right, Craig. Well, you've answered my question. I was going to say, have you asked him if he wants to be captain? Does he want the responsibilities? Or will he shy away from it and say, I'd rather be as I am?
Absolutely, you're spot on, and that is why I first spoke to his father, because I know with Daz, they're a very close family. Wherever Daz is, his mum and his dad and his brother's going to be there. And that is why some riders might think me being intimidating. And I didn't want him to ring me up. I didn't want to ring him up and say, "Do you want to be the captain?" He said, "Ooh, I better say, yeah." "Oh, yeah." I didn't want that. So that's why I first and foremost spoke to his father. And his father said, "I agree," and that would be such a boost for the coming season for him. And what the lads do, they did it last year, they've done it again this year. You'll understand this more than me. There's a group chat that they do on Messenger where all the riders, the rider, myself, JPP's dad, and Lee Dickens' dad are on it, where they message each other, and only them people can hear it. And every other bloody day, Daz is on it. "Are you doing this? What about this? So he's full of it, and as you say, I really do think that he'll make an excellent captain, and he's really, really up for the job. Yes, sir.
If I'd had a blank piece of paper at the start of the season, probably like yourself, the 2 jacks should have been first, and then I'd have probably gone for Tom Perry.
Sorry, are we talking about this coming season?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
And I'd just like to hear what the conversation like was with Tom Perry. Was it his decision? Was it your decision?
That's a good one. Do you know what? We've never had a conversation. The first time I knew Tom wasn't riding for us is a press release that he's riding for Cradley. Is that right? I got my press man here. Is that right?
Yeah.
That is right. I have still not had any form of communication of Tom that he's not riding for us. Nothing. Pure and simply, read in the press, he's riding for Cradley.
Interestingly, at the do at the end of the season, as we were leaving, we were actually talking to Tom, and I said, "Look forward to seeing you next year." "Yeah, I'll be back." He said, "I don't want to ride anywhere else."
That's what he told me.
"You going back to Crazy?" "I don't want to go back to Crazy. I want to be here."
Well, as I say,
Can I follow that up?
yeah, of course.
If you had have signed, say, Tom or Jack, who would you not have signed?
if I knew the answer, I would tell you. But I mean, I don't know. You play with the cards that you dealt with, and I was looking at them in not all the permutations, but most of the permutations. Tom was in it, but again, as I said, I heard nothing of Tom. Even to this day, he has not rung me up and said, "Judgy, I'm not riding for this year. I'm riding for Cradley." Genuinely, the first I knew about it was a press release. He was riding for Cradley. But again, there's no animosity. If that had been a late league Premier League, I'd have been well pissed off, and I'd have been on the phone ranting and raving. But this league is not about that. It's about bringing on kids, and if Tom has had a better deal, or I can only assume that maybe, just because I don't really, like, Tom's got a very, very good job at the bank. He works for Barclays Bank. Maybe he's had a, riding on a Monday night suits his job. I don't know.
When his big mate's riding for Cradley as well, Mr. Green.
Well, that may have a bearing on it then. That may have a bearing on it. Sorry?
Did you say right?
Yeah. Yes, back of the room. Well, sorry, just have I answered that as? Yeah.
Can we just follow that up? What did you? I've always looked upon him as the glue in the side.
The what?
The glue.
The glue.
Yeah.
In the side.
The mentor, the captain. Was he a good captain?
Yeah, he was a very good captain, and I think Daz has got some big boots to fill. But I've every confidence that he will do. But yeah, you'll not hear me speak a bad word about Tom Perry. Not a problem at all. His equipment was good, turned out dependable, good captain. No problem at all with Tom. Yep.
Further on from that, really, it's about National League and riding assets. It seems odd when we have, we don't spend money for, the JPB, Sheffield, Jackson, Glasgow, Zach. And we've now got teams in the National League that are saying that Tom's an asset of Cradley Heath and Zach's an asset of Lakeside. They seem to end up with assets and we don't. Now, how are they doing that? Or just the claims that are made are incorrect?
I was on a good night. Because nothing gets my hackles up more than the situation regarding assets. Up until very recently, and I'll only, honestly, I could answer that question and it'd take me 2 hours to do it in depth and it'd bore you to bloody brains out. But I'll try and give it you, as it is. That first and foremost, when the BSP in their wisdom decided that National League clubs could not own assets anymore. If we wanted assets, we had to go and join the big boys in the Premier League and the Elite League. So National League clubs cannot own assets. And they brought that rule out. But what happened, when that rule was brought out, Tom Perry was already an asset of Cradley Speedway. So that is why Tom Perry is an asset of Cradley, because he was an asset prior to the BSPA bringing the rule out. So then what happened, when they brought the rule out, that you can't have assets. In regard to, you use the word Zach, I'll use him as an example. Zach Zach wanted some security, I suppose, and he wanted that security because his mate, who is a mate of mine as well, Paul Hurry, says you really need to get fixed up in the Elite League. I think it's the wrong decision. Paul obviously thinks it's the right decision. Time will tell. So Paul Hurry has got a big, he goes to the Lakeside. Half a size from Blackcurrant will be handy if there's anybody at the bar that wouldn't mind pouring me one. So Zach had a word with Paul Hurry. So what happens is we as a club, Birmingham Speedway, we are entitled to a training fee. So let me give you an example. With Zach, it was a little bit, he had an average. Lakeside said, we want to sign in as an asset. Zach said, look Graham, I want to go to Lakeside. I still want to carry on riding for Birmingham. I said, right, not a problem. So we, as a club, bloody hell, that was quick. Cheers, sir. Thank you very much. So we as a club have a training fee off Lakeside for training up Zach. The same with JPB, the same with Andy Smith. Jack Smith. When Jack Smith signed for Glasgow, Birmingham had a training fee for him, for developing him, bringing him on, and the same with JPB. But the big bone of contention is, it was absolute cherry bobs. It's just, such a paltry sum of money. It's very, very disappointing. So, where obviously it's an uneven playing field, is if you are Bellevue, you can have a young rider, you can sign him as an asset, and you can have him in your Premier League. And of course, it devalues Tony Moore's business, where when we first come into the National League, my orders is the wrong word, but my instructions of Tony was, look Graham, let's try and build an asset base up, so as if and when we go Premier League, because, if Birmingham does decide to go Premier League, if the new owners come in and say we want to go to Premier League, from a business point of view, you need 3 of your riders from the 1 year to move up with you into the Premier League. So Tony said, build an asset base up, get these young riders in, so that if we do move up, we can take them riders with us. That doesn't happen anymore, and it can't happen. So if Birmingham went, Premier League next year, we'd have, well, let's look at it. We've got Daniel Newman, he's an asset at Ipswich. Tom Bacon, he's an asset at Peterborough. Daz, he's an asset at Swindon. And TPB, he's an asset at Sheffield. So if we went Premier League, for certain Menfor riders wouldn't be available, because the clubs that own their contracts would want them. It's a very, very uneven playing field, and there's a lot of animosity between ourselves in the National League and the two not in the Premier League and the Elite League. But it doesn't stop us getting the young riders, as has been proven in the last 2 years. When you ring a rider up, I'm in a very, very good position. If I ring a rider up and say, do you fancy riding for Birmingham? To be fair, they're not going to say no, are they? The facilities we got, the track that we got, they get paid on time because Tony Moore writes the checks. Easy. Next. I'm glad you come.
Are there any plans in place to try and attract more youngsters? Because with the greatest of, I don't know, but the average age of people in there is about 90.
I've said many times, Birmingham Speed, we should be sponsored by Saga. Yes, it is. But we're no different to any other club in the country. Maybe our average crowd is higher than most, but Speedway has lost a generation, hasn't it? Not just Birmingham. But to answer your questions, we're always looking at things to bring kids in. It's difficult over the years. We've tried many things, and I think I've got to say, really, I can't put my hand up and say, yeah, that was a success. Generally, it hasn't. And again, that's one of the reasons Tony Moore and I were discussing. Bank holiday Mondays, you have a better chance of getting the kids in when they're off school. There's no problem with getting up in the morning. We're just hoping that the Good Friday, the bank holidays, will bring kids in. And my view is that some of the language, and I certainly don't mean bad language, but some of the phraseology that the riders use in our team, with all the signed and all that, I was hoping that youngsters can identify with riders that ride for Birmingham, because I keep saying it. Last year was forget what Peter Rourke said. We were the second. We were the youngest team ever to put a 1 to 7 out. So I'm hoping, I'm still hoping, but we're no different to any other club in the country. We must get youngsters back in to Perry Bar and Speedway generally. I've got a question or an observation for you, and I like feedback of fans, is when we were talking previously about assets for clubs, and we the National League has said, well, we're a training league. You know, we've got to bring the kids on, we've got to move them up into the Premier League. That's the natural progression. And nobody, keep you awake, Winky? Nobody in the BSPA, SCB, FIM, whatever, can say Birmingham haven't done their bit over the last 2 years. We're bringing them on. But then what happens, which I just find inconceivable, and we were talking about Zach. Zach has had one proper full season in the National League, half a season in the Premier League and National League next year, and now he's riding in the Elite League. The reason why Zach is riding in the Elite League, because his average fits. The promoters of Swindon haven't thought about Zach's career at all. All as you thought of, oh, 2 points, he'll fit, we'll put him in. I think that is just so wrong. Unless you can come up and say, oh no, Graham, actually it's a good idea because of. So that is an observation that we as the National League are asked to. The potential of the club is endless, in my opinion. I think the next event is organised by Birmingham Supporters Club, not by Birmingham Speedway Club. And the Supporters Club is an integral part of any club. I know that the Supporters Club, like the management, are trying to get the Supporters Club more involved and maybe getting some benefits where if you are a member of the Supporters Club you will get privileged benefits. So I do urge all of you, if during the course of the evening you were to consider joining the Supporters Club, it does help the club through many avenues of getting a friendship and with fellow speedway promoters, and as I said, there is hopefully during the course of the season there will be benefits there for Supporters Club members. The other thing is the supporters do a tremendous job insofar as the 50-50 draw during the course of a season. Again, please try and support that because that is again beneficial to all parties. And then going on to the questions now, I just had one here dropped, is are any of the Brummies riders considering using one of the new Gerhardt engines, and what's my thoughts on them? So far as I'm aware, no Birmingham riders will be using the coming season. That's not to say that they won't be, it's just that they haven't told me. So it'll be as big a surprise to you come press and practice day when we see what engines they're using. I would be very, very surprised if any of them was, because the riders that we've got this year will have been in the sport not a lot of time but a little bit of time, so during the course of that time you do build up spares and different things, so I would be surprised. And then the next question, what's my views on them? Well, I can't form any views in regard to their performance or what they do because I don't know, but I'll give it 3 years and it'll be kicked into touch and it will be a free market. Speedway riders, I can't again say about our league, the National League, because it doesn't really apply, but in the Elite League and the Premier League, Speedway riders want to win races. And if they can win a race, or they think they've got a faster engine, if it's a GM, Joe or BSA or whatever, they will use that. They want to win races. And maybe rightly or wrongly, they don't always look at the finances of it. But it's just an opinion. I might be proven wrong. But as you say, I'll give it 3 years, and I think it'll be back to a free market whereby you can ride what you want. You can do now. I understand that. You haven't got to use these engines. But I think once a few riders have tried them, it won't suit all riders, and therefore they will go and use other makes. So that's my views of it. Next question. Yep.
Did you remember to send Gary back his Christmas card this year? We'll be getting the rants against you in the programme.
Yeah. I mean,
what did you do to him, Graham?
I don't know because I haven't spoken to him for a long time. If people, aren't aware that when Birmingham were at Cradley, Gary Patchett did make a very vicious attack, a personal attack I'm not sure whether it was for me or Tony Moore. Sometimes I read it and I thought it's aimed at me, and then I read it again and think it was directed at Tony. So I don't know. What I did put a smile on my face that night, that Gary did make them views, his own personal or his own views in the programme. But for the first time, I think Craigie's been going for 8 years now, and I think I'm right in I know I'm right in saying that in that particular programme, when he had a go at me or Tony or both of us, the other two promoters of Craigie Heath put in the programme for the first time ever that the opinion in this programme isn't necessarily agreed by all promotions of Craigie Heath. That speaks volumes. So I'm still waiting for the Christmas card.
Has it been graded the promoter's license?
Pardon?
Has it been graded the promoter's license?
I wouldn't have a clue. I really don't know. No idea. Well, that's fraud, you know. Right, next question.
Yeah, there should be 3 stars on that because we did win the Elite League. We just lost the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a technicality, as you said earlier on about the rules and that. Yeah, I mean, I've said many times that, as I think you know, I'm not in favour of the playoffs. The team that wins top of the league is the best team in the league. You know, and as I say, in certain respects, I can appreciate what you say. But that's the way that one is.
What's your thoughts on Neil Thatcher being appointed SPP? I know what his predecessor is.
Yeah, I mean, Neil Thatcher, I don't know anything about Neil. I know he has done a hell of a good job in the youth system. It's a big jump from being like an under-21 team manager to running the SCB. And because he's new to job and the season hasn't started yet, I haven't had any run-ins with him yet. No doubt I will do during the course of the season. And I'll form an opinion then, but at the minute, you know, I hope he does a good job. It's a very, very important job. It's one I wouldn't have took for all the tea in China. It's a poison chalice. I know their position was offered to several referees and, you know, they turned it down. So, you know, hopefully he'll come up to the mark and do a good job. Yep.
When you mentioned earlier that in the Elite League there are no protected races for the reserves, I just wondered if there's any change in the heat composition in the National League?
Nothing is as. I mean, it's. I think, you know, the AGM that we had this year was one of the just sort of run through. You know, and what my argument was with most of the proposals that were put forward was if it's not broke, it doesn't need mending. I think, you know, most people in this room, would you agree that by and large we've got the National League pretty well, you know, as it should be? You know, I think we have. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. You know, wouldn't it be a travesty if, you know, Birmingham hadn't have won the league last year? You know, that would have been such a. But I mean, I've been involved in the sport a long, long time, and I tell you what, on that playoff second leg with Birmingham, it's another 20 quid. But you know, the supporters club were earning some money tonight on the fines. On that last night of the season of Birmingham in the playoff second leg against Eastbourne, I tell you what, if Poole had rolled up, we'd have beat them. Because them 7 riders were up for it. They were so up from it. From number 1 right through to number 7. I could see it in their eyes on the track walk. Incredible. It really, really was a pleasure to see the lads work and fight for something which was rightly theirs. And they richly deserve. Yes?
I just want to say that Mike and I were standing behind the Eastbourne fans on that night, and after the four feet, one at the front turned round and just said, "We're gone."
Really?
They were in tears.
And they were in tears.
That sounds lovely.
They could see their hopes.
They're gone.
They just after that 4 feet and it was down to just 1 point, they were so down. I don't know if anybody who was there noticed how quiet.
Yeah.
They went. And we, as I said, we were standing right on the back, and one of them came up and said, well, you deserve it, because you wouldn't live on the street. But how long are we going to wait till we can...
I think the defining moment for me in that one was Heat 1.
Yeah.
That just sent them, and I said to him, I said, if you could beat Adam Ellis in Heat 1, I said that will deflate them and it will just give everybody. He said, you're not asking much, are you? I said, no. I said, but because let's not forget, he was second choice for that meeting. It was Danny Ayres that was originally booked for it, and he got injured. And Mitchell Davey, I rate him very highly. A couple of times when he was injured, and I rung him and said, do you fancy riding for Birmingham? And I forget, it was a semi-final or whatever. He said, nah. He said, I don't want to let you down. He said, that's a big meeting now. He said, I'm not 100%. 90% of Speedway riders would have said yes, just for the experience of such a big meeting, but he didn't, and I hold him in very high regard.
Yeah, we actually spoke to him after the meeting, and he was absolutely over the moon, wasn't he?
Oh, he was just like he'd been for us all season. Yeah.
It was just as though he'd been
Yeah.
there all
Pardon? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Did you consider
Don't go back there again, Chris. No, I didn't consider him because, well, I'll be honest with you, his travelling was too expensive. You know, I mean, you may think, oh, that, you know, but getting somebody to, I don't know, let's just say, King Dick and he lives in Hull, and that's bloody far enough. But I think I've said to you before, the difference in the National League and the Elite, what's it, the National League and the Premier League, or the Premier League and the Elite League. But the differentiate between the two was £12,000 in travelling, because it was Elite League. It was because in the Premier League you've got to pay your 7 riders, go to Edinburgh, Glasgow, Newcastle, Workington. In this league, furthest north it goes Manchester. It does make a big difference. Any more? Yep.
Can you talk to us about the 3 new lads? You know, what sort of contact and...
Yeah, I mean, what I'll tell you first, the last one was Keen Dickin. I think that's an interesting one. In that, again, I'll be honest and truthful with you, like I've been on that, I could have signed riders that would have done a better job than Keen Dickin this year. Certainly at the start of the season. I had 3 riders, when there's one team place to fill, that rang me up and said, I really, really want to ride for Birmingham. But all 3 of them were in their mid-30s. And I don't want to go down that route. You, the fans, the message I'm getting back, there's nothing better than seeing a young lad starting, struggling a bit, and progressing as the season goes on. And I do think that Keen Dickin deserves a place in the British National League more than a 34, 35 and a 36-year-old does.
Like his dad.
Pardon?
Like his dad.
Well, his dad was dead keen on signing. But he said, I loved it. He said, but you're going to say no, aren't you? I said, bloody right, I am. No, that's not the way to go. And I mean, Chris Hay, he's the oldest and he's 27. And what I'll say about Chris Hay is a little bit like I said to Daniel Hume about Daniel Hume this time next year. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to be another Daniel Hume, but when Tom Perry rang me up about Daniel Hume, I've gone on record, I said he's crap, he can't get round Rayhouse, but I've got nobody else, we'll put him in, give him a try. With Chris Hay, Jack Parkinson's dad rang me up. He said, Judge, he said, you want to sign Chris Hay? He said, he guested for Stoke the other day, and he said, Jack was guesting for whoever, and he said, it took Jack 3 laps to pass him. He said, he's going to be a bloody good rider. I said, okay then, Neil. I said, I'll tell you what we'll do. I said, I'll sign him. If he's good, that'll me. If he's crap, I'll blame you. He said, I'll take that. So, I did see him ride twice at Stoke, and I'm not going to say he wowed me, but I looked at it. The thing with him, again, and you bear this in mind, he'll roll up, his kevlars are immaculate, He has 2 bikes, like has just come out the workshop, out the showroom, and he has a mate of his who's a very good mechanic. And I think in this league, that's half the battle. So he's got time to develop and become a good Premier League rider with a little bit of luck. He's going to struggle to start because he's going to go in at number 2. Almost, well, he will do. I haven't told him that yet. But I think he knows he won't be at reserve. And who's the other one?
Thank you.
I tell you what, I can't weigh him up. Did you know he was the first rider I signed for this year?
Yep.
Lynn Cupid. I signed him in September. I didn't know what the punch limit was. I didn't know what the rules and regulations was, but there's one thing I was sure of. Every bugger's going to be after 3-pointers. And it's the second or third time I've tried to sign him. And I rate the kid. But I look what he's done, I think, Christ, he's had 4 lasts there. Why? And I don't know why. But I would like to think we can get the best out of him. Got good equipment. I keep going on about this all the time, don't I? He's got good equipment. His dad's ever so keen for him to do well.
Brother-in-law in bed,
Do what?
His brother-in-law in bed,
No, that's right. You have to talk slow. You look over here with his ear bag on and all that. Yeah, his brother-in-law is not bad either. So
It's a nice bloke to get me angry there, you know what I mean?
you what? Talk slowly.
Yeah, no
Oh,
problem.
that's probably the pitch here. That's literally a nice bloke to have the hand down from, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit he is, yeah.
It's a nice get his ear in, I sure to go then.
I think you have to, I'm semi-serious now, have to get rid of the Woofenden factor out of his head.
Yeah, he is the first lane Cupid, he's not the second Ty Woofenden. Absolutely. No, I would agree, and I'll drum that into it.
I think that's most important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think we saw what he could do at the under-19 at our place. He's got again, you know, if you think, if you disagree, say, but you know, his riding style, got really nice, neat riding style. So as you say, whether he tries too hard to try and live up to the Ty Woofenden, you know, maybe he does that, and we'll say to him, well, calm down, because there's one thing for certain, Speedway, if you fall off, you don't win a race.
That's his biggest problem, Graham.
Yeah.
Tries to.
Too hard. So, but I think what I'm hoping is because he's in such a good environment and a good team, he won't feel the pressures on him like maybe it has been. And what I will say to him, and I've said to King Dickin, as I said last year to our 2 reserves, the 2 things you must say to the reserves prior to the start of the season is 2 words to the reserves in the National League is banned. One is pressure. I don't want to hear the word pressure, and the other word, sorry, isn't banned, but is encouraged, is enjoyment. You've got to go out there looking forward to riding your bike and enjoying it, and no pressure. Having said that, I remember at Eastbourne in the first leg of the playoffs, Jack Parkinson come to me, his eyeballs were like saucers. He said, you know that time you said to me, Judge, about pressure? I said, yeah. He said, that's a load of bollocks, he says. As he went out and won a race. So, but again, you see, it's the environment of, you know, I will never say there's pressure on you to do this, but it is good to have that sort of pressure in the ICALA meetings that we had, because it will stand them in good stead in years to come. When they're at the start line, riding for England, and they need a 5-1 to beat Australia or whatever. Hopefully they can look back and learn of what they've done at Birmingham. So them are the 3 riders that I've got a lot of faith in. I think, would most people agree in this room, insofar as looking at the teams this year, that by and large, most teams are top 4 are a much of a muchness, and we're all hoping that them bottom 2 or 3, we all need. You know, when you think the first year we won the league, we had Zach, you started on a 3, finished on a 9.5. Last year, well, bloody everybody just went through the roof. But, you know, as promoters, we're all looking for the little bit of a gem that hasn't fulfilled its potential and come to Birmingham or to go to whatever track. And improve. But the one thing I'll say, the 3 riders that I've signed won't come with a load of rubbish bikes. They won't be like a tin gate, pulled together by a bit of baling string. I've done my own work. I've looked at their equipment, and I've had reports of other riders and other people that keep their eye out on different things. And all 3 of them, want to progress in the sport. All 3 of them, I'm sure, well, I know for a fact, could have gone to other tracks. Without question, they could. But they felt that by coming to Birmingham, they will enhance their careers too.
Would you like another drink?
I love one, I think never asked. Half a size of blackcurrant, you lovely. No. The other thing is that you all know that Joe McLaughlin is our commercial manager. Joe, unfortunately, is ill at the minute, but he's back at the office on Monday morning, and we're still striving, to get heat sponsors. We haven't got too many to fill. Actually, we're doing quite well. But if there's anybody in the room that would like to sponsor a heat, there is again benefits to it. And Joe has altered his email, but instead simply be on the website, just commercial at birminghambrummies.co. I'm sure you can all remember that. But the position we're in at the minute at Birmingham Speedway, we all know the club's up for sale. What I want to try and do, endeavour to do, work tirelessly, is to put a company together that can look good at somebody. Because the one question I thought I would have tonight, and I haven't had, but I'll ask myself it, or I'll ask you it, is what happens come October the 31st and Tony Moore hasn't sold Birmingham Speedway? What happens then? That's when it will be sold. It will be sold. Because it's a bloody good product. When I say product, I don't mean Speedway. It's, like I said at the outset to you, Sue, it's got a bloody good foundation, good fan base, run properly, good track and everything. So I'm trying, when prospective buyers come in, can look at it and think, yeah, them books look okay, that looks good, I think I can make a go of that. And to help that, I don't want to look at a programme and think, bloody hell, after races, after the heat I'm sponsored. So by doing your little bit, if you can just have a word with Joe or Tony and just sponsor a heat, it makes it more attractive, it looks better, it's a bit, and I don't want you to think that, yeah, well, if we sponsor a heat, that money's going in Tony Moore's back pocket. Rest assured that is not the case. It really isn't the case. It'll be a very, very sad day when Tony Moore does walk away from British Speedway. And I say British Speedway, not Birmingham Speedway, because what he's done not only for this club, but for tracks up and down the country, I've said many, many times, and I must emphasise, I'm not after a pay rise. What I'm saying is from the heart and genuine, that what he has done for British Speedway up and down the country, 8 Tony Moores, and I tell you what, we were talking about the troubles in Speedway. A lot of them would be alleviated if we had 8 Tony Moores at different tracks up and down the country. I know he would be embarrassed by me saying all this, but I don't care. So, come 31st of October, my wish would be that the club has been taken over, which it will, I'm confident it will. Somebody will come in, safeguard it, nurture it, and this time next year you'll be talking to a new promotion, with the expectations of a good season behind us this coming season. And you'll show them their support. Cool.
Are there any plans to have a testimonial for Tony? Because I think we'd like to have the chance to say thank you.
Well, no plans of it, that I'm aware of. And he should do. And that's something really for the BSBA to consider. The one thing I will say, his last meeting in charge of Birmingham is going to be a bit special if I've got anything to do with it. A lot of work's going to go into that. I want him to send off that he richly deserves. And as I say, a lot of work and effort will go into that, but he won't forget it. And the fans who attend it won't. We haven't decided how much admission prices yet, Tony. So I end with that little bit of a caveat because, as I say, Denise and I worked for him for 22 years, so we must be doing something right, and he must just see what you like about it. He doesn't suffer fools gladly. Rest assured. That's why sometimes I'm amazed I'm still sitting here. But I don't want to finish. Can we end this? Because I don't want that's a bit of a. I don't want to finish. I want everybody going out this room thinking, come on, let's get these boys going. 2 more questions and then I'll head off to North Wales.
Do you keep in touch with the old riders? And the reason I'm asking that is, like the HIS survivors going on, do you keep in touch with him at all?
Only on Facebook.
So you do?
Yeah, he's moved house. Surprise, surprise, he's working in a winery. That'll do him the world of good. But Denise and I always said, while we were still involved with Speedway, we would never do this Facebook and Twitter because all the crap and everything that goes on it. Our lives are hard enough as it is without the social media and the go here. But then when we retired, the Phillips era, and I said, right, we're finished now, we're going to Twitter, Facebook and that. And I tell you what, I mean, you know, I've met up with riders, not met up, but got contacted riders who used to ride for Birmingham, used to ride with me. So other than that side of it, I mean, I'll give you an example, but he's not a Birmingham rider. But I'm assuming there's quite a few people in this room take a Speedway star. And a couple of weeks ago, they did an article on the Swindon team of 2000. And they interviewed each rider, you know, what they did and blah, blah, blah. And one of them was Martin Dixon. And bloody hell, it said, yeah, Mad Dog. And he said in the article, you know, he was struggling, his missus left him, he was looking after his bloody, so I rung Dicko up, and I haven't spoken to him for, I think the last time I spoke to him when we took him to the Middle East doing Ice Speedway. And I just rung him and said, bloody hell, Dicko, how are you doing? And blah, blah, and we put the world to right. Carl Stone here, spoke to him. Craig Watson, you know, he messaged me a few times. What's up? You know, nice lad he was. So other than Facebook, no. But a lot of you, you know, might not know this, but we do. Or Tony Moore does do a thing that if you rode for Birmingham and ridden in so many, you can't give every ex-rider a pass, otherwise the place would be full, but you wouldn't take any money, and that would be no good because we want the books to look good for when Tony's not here. But you know, we do have a policy. If you have ridden so many official league matches for Birmingham, you do get a pass to get in. Not a lot of people know that. I thought you'd all put your hands up. Well, I rode 10 times for Birmingham. Right, any more? Yes?
Any reason we're not in the national trials with him?
Fixtures. Couldn't fit them all in. Just couldn't fit them all